Hi everyone, I'm Karan. I'm the QA engineer in the Shiny team. And today, for this video, we'll go over how to leverage some of the methods that we expose for testing your Shiny app. And with the release of version 1.0, we are exposed a bunch of helpful functions that you can actually use to actually interact with your components in your Shiny app and then verify they work as expected. This exercise I'm going to use, so I already have two tests created. So I have one which is, so this is the app file. This is a basic Shiny app. So let me show you what this app does. So it has a slider and then there's a text output. So if you move around the slider, you'll see the text output updating. And it essentially just doubles the value. So if I have it as 2, it'll double it to 4. So by default, when the Shiny app loads, it's always at 20. So the output text, when the thing loads, it's always going to be n times 2 is 40. And so for the test, what we'll do is we'll use some of the methods we exposed that will make it much easier for folks to write their own test. We'll probably move the slider to 50, and then we'll verify that this thing updates. So let me go back and retread what we'll do. So we'll load the app. We'll check if this is by default, this is the version or this is the value that when the slider value is at 20, we'll interact with this, move it to 50, and then verify this thing is at 100. Okay, so that's the Shiny app, and this is just a basic Shiny app that I used using the Shiny Create and then selected the basic app. So this is the express version of the app in case people are curious. All right, so for the test, what we will do, and I'm going to close the Shiny app since we don't need it. Okay, cool. So what we do in these lines of code is the app, when you use the Shiny test add utility function, like the command line, it will automatically fill your test file with page go to, which will actually navigate to the URL of the Shiny app. And since the Shiny app is running locally, it will have a unique port, and all the fixtures over here will automatically determine that for you. And so you don't need to worry about that. So over here, so we have two components when we look at the app file. So we have an output text and we have input slider, and we want to test both of them. So for this one, what we do is we use something called as a controller, which allows you to interact with your different components in your apps. So what I do is I do controller.output text. So I'm creating an instance of them. And then you end up passing the page object, and this is the ID of the. So if you look over here, you can see the ID of the output text. Sorry, over here. And then what we'll do is, oh, sorry, not this one. Okay, cool. So we create an instance of that with the output text file. We'll create just another variable, and then we actually expose some methods. So if you're using VS Code, you can actually figure it out. And then this one, when you actually, before you fill it up, it'll show you some information of what it accepts. So you can always do something like this. N times 2 is 40, which is the default one. So this is the basic, the first one that we had, wherein when you load it, it will always show you what the default one is. But now we want to actually create an instance of the slider as well. So I'll do slider equals to controller. So controller, you'll always have to invoke it from the controller because that's the one that will allow you. And when you actually create like controller dot, you'll actually see all the different components that you can actually create it. So what I'll do is I'll do input slider, and then again the same thing. The first one you have to pass the page object, which is like a playwright thing, and then you'll pass in the ID of that, and the ID of this one is n. So if you're ever confused, you can always look at the function definition, and so that's the ID. So I'll do n. All right. So And then since I created the slider, I can actually use slider dot, and then you can see all the different things. And I can always, um, I can actually do something like set to actually move it. And then so you can see the value it accepts, it's a string. It's not a number, it's a string. So what I'll do is I'll move it to 50. So it should drag it to 50. And then what I'll do is I'll actually copy this, and then I can actually do this 200. So the theory is you move the slider to 50, and then this one moves 200. So what I'll do is I'll run the tests now, um, and it should end up picking it up and move the slider and verifying it. And I also make it fail deliberately to just see if it's working as expected. So pass the first test and then the second one. So this is the one that we are passing. Okay, so the first one failed because we still have this error. So I'm going to correct it to 40. So now we should have both of them passing. It'll take a while because it's actually opening up the browser, and all of this is happening headlessly, which means you won't see the browser. But yeah, so it actually ended up doing it. So you saw the failure when we had that. This one is just the test file that if you want, you can actually look at the other video that we created, which was just about getting started with PyTest, and we created this file in that one. But for this example, on this video, we are actually doing this. So you can actually see the different methods that we expose. And like I said, you can actually do some assertions, and it has expect value as well. So you could actually do some expect value of so this one would just be the slider. So which number did you drag it to? So let me see if this thing works. And let me actually see. So it's a value, pattern or store. And then this one asserts that the input element has the expected value. So if I run this again, it should actually expect that. So we are asserting that the output text is reflected with the change. We also asserting that the slider value, so when you actually move the slider, which I can show you over here, uh, this value is showing up as 50. So that's what we do it over here. So all the methods that we expose for different output input elements, like the different controllers that you can use to tweak around and use it for your test, are all documented in the testing API documentation page. In the reference, you can actually see all the methods we expose. So you can always use that. It highlights what function params it accepts, and so one of the things that we do, and that's something that we do behind the scenes that the user does not need to worry about, is we will explicitly do the weighting, and we'll keep it like really dynamic, wherein if the app hasn't loaded yet, we'll actually keep on checking for a while till it reach the timeout, and we don't want the test to fail just because it did not load in a split second. So we'll actually take some time to actually constantly check if the value hasn't changed. And so if we ended up actually failing the test deliberately, or if your test ends up failing, you'll actually see in the error logs, in the stack trace, that it ends up actually testing it several times because it's hoping for it to load. And this is also one of the benefits you can get by using Playwright, because you're not explicitly like sleeping till things load up. And we have a bunch of things that we have added behind the scenes. So you can see how it's actually trying it several times to make sure it loads. So if if it was the case wherein things weren't loading right away, we would like wait for it. We'll give it uh, like a timeout, like 5 second, to actually make sure it loaded before we end up failing the test, because we do not want flaky tests. All right, so this one actually sums up just a basic test on how you can leverage some of the controllers that we expose in the Shiny version 1.0 package that you can use to actually now write tests for all your Shiny apps, and make sure these ones, as you keep on adding more functionality to your apps, or you don't end up causing regression. So I think it provides a really high value of making sure users have a good experience with your Shiny app, and also they don't actually break the experience or cause any regressions if you have multiple people working on your Shiny app and stuff like that. So this one makes it a lot more stable. So yeah, so that's end of video 2. If you need more information, feel free to look the testing API reference doc that should be highlighted on the video, and have fun testing.